Welcome to the Underground Engineering Podcast. The introduction of steel fiber reinforcement for segmental linings is taking some time to be universally accepted. Today, we hear from two eminent speakers about the first application on a major project in France. We hear from Jean-Luc Bischoff, Project Director for Eiffage on Line 16 Lot 1 contract, and also from Benoit de Rivers of Beckhardt, the steel fiber supplier. So welcome to you both. So Jean-Luc, tell us about the contract that you are working on.
The contract we have is a contract of 20 kilometers of tunneling in the project of Grand Paris Express. We have different diameters. What is the complication of this lot? We have a diameter of 7.75 meters interior diameter. That's for this line 14 that still exists in Paris. That's one tube with two tracks here. And then we will have a diameter of 6.7 meters interior. The design is of two tubes and not only one. This is the line 17. And then we have a third diameter that is a diameter of 8.7 and for line 15 and 16. Which are these two ring lines around of Paris. There is a huge station, railway station or metro station in Saint-Denis-Pleyel, where we will have the Olympic Village. And this huge station is a beginning of the line 15, line 16, and then line 17 and line 14. It's the most important contract of the Grand Paris. It's a contract of 1.8 billions, where the other contracts are more on 750 millions of euros.
How many of the projects are going on at the moment?
All companies together are realizing quite 100 kilometers out of these 200 kilometers at present moment. We will still have to create 100 other kilometers after in the years that will come.
And so tell us the story about the steel fiber as the alternative for the segmental lining.
Our contract is a contract of classical rebars. We obtain our contract in February 2018. And in the month of May, we proposed to the Société du Grand Paris to develop a possibility of segments with fibers. Why? Because in France, sometimes we had sacrificial segments, but never as a definitive lining.
Why do you think that is, Jean-Luc?
Because, to be honest, people are afraid about fibers. Not for a definitive lining, but they are afraid about the TBM thrust. And that's why we have a security level that is very high and difficult to obtain segments. But on the line 16, there was a unique occasion to lead such a campaign because of the impact that this campaign will have. And on the other side, we had the security to have a contract with classical rebars.
How did you begin this task?
The work was quite prepared by Beckhardt. It gave some information to the Société du Grand Paris about fibers. And then we came to the Société du Grand Paris to tell them that it is an occasion to test the solution. On the first place was the economy, but not all. And now we prove them that we will have a better lining with fibers because of a better adaptation or a better fight against corrosion. Another point that interests a lot the Société du Grand Paris is the ecological aspects of the fibers, because we have a great win in these matters using fibers.
With the fibers, you say that there was an economic advantage to the client. Is it quantifiable, this saving?
Yeah, the saving is quantified, but it is not so important that the Société du Grand Paris expected, because the greatest impact of fibers on an economic aspects is the difference you have between a price of classical rebars, steel rebars, and fibers. When this gap is important, you make a huge difference. In France, it's not the case, because the fibers are quite on the level of price of the steel fibers. The optimizing of the classical rebars in matter of tunneling, power of the machines, number of segments in a ring, such aspects are perfectly transposable to fibers. That's one of the greatest elements that we gave to the science of fibers with the experience of line 16, to show that we are able to install fiber segments with a very hard power of machines, and with a number of segments that is lower than normally in a design of fiber segments. And the segments are quite huge, because we are on a diameter of 9.5. Extra loss is 9.5. We know that in Australia, we have often no diameter of 12 meters or 11 meters, but all the same diameter of 9.5 with only 7 segments per ring is a huge progress in matter of cadences of tunneling. You
presented all of these advantages in your bid, did you?
In the first time, we proposed the fibers, and when we progressed in the matter of fibers, we saw that we have a good impact compared to classical rebars. And that is important in France, because the people are afraid about fibers, meant to show them that you don't lose anything in matter of what classical rebars bring. They are convinced now of the interest of fibers.
Benoit, I want to ask, the research that was done, is it the most comprehensive that you have seen in the study of steel fiber segments?
Certainly, yes, I think. I think first it was a very long walk from rebars to drumming inside. We have organized in Paris in 2017 a big event with 200 people, event organized by Beckert and endorsed by AFTES and ITA, focus on the use of fiber reinforced concrete for precast segment to educate, to inform, to share the return of experience, due to the fact first they need a strong additional data to validate the solution. So the first test to optimize the mix design, and a massive campaign in Roma University on the scale 1, on the real segment, to simulate the bending, to simulate the jack force, the concentrate loads, and to simulate the connector pull-out. So at the end, we have exactly the same context, same team, same mix design.
This is quite something, that you have both kinds of segments in the same tunnels.
Yes, it has an interest to compare. The difficulty was the fact that we had 3 diameters. And we had a too high level with all the securities that are implemented. That's why we concentrated on 8.7 diameters. We made 1,000 tests, beam tests, and we realized test on scale 1 on 40 segments.
Who paid for the tests?
We paid on our own.
Did you?
Own money. Yeah. The cost of the studies is 1.2 million. For us, it was an investment to be able to present such a solution on other projects and even in international horizons. And we discussed in May, and then we began the campaign in July 2018. We had a validation in December 19. And we installed the first segments in July 20.
The molds in the concrete casting plant, it was the same for both, right?
Yes. But there are questions that we have to change, perhaps, because the development in matter of molds goes to with classical rebars without any headings on the molds, you know.
Okay.
And that induce concrete that is quite strong, and perhaps for segments with fibers, we have to come back to these headings.
For the fixings between your segments, are you using the dowels or are you using the bolted segment?
We don't use any bolted since years on our side.
Not.
We have connectors. We have now an objective of 65% of the segments or the rings are in fiber segments. We have to install a certain numbers of classical rebars in the tunnel. That's you have, for example, the entrance and when we go out of the tunnel, that because you have too high pressure and you need some classical rebars, then you have a certain number of zones of the tunnel where we need classical rebars. And for the moment in France, we still use classical rebar segments in a curve less than 300 meters, I would say.
Right.
The classical rebars, but we know that perhaps in the future we will be able to install even in these zones segments with fibers.
What were you expecting to see on these steel fiber segments? And were you surprised that you saw something different, or you see what you expected?
What we obtained were quite at the level that we expected. The things we expected didn't happen. We expected a little bit more cracks, micro cracks in the segments. We didn't have them. We expected as well that perhaps in certain zones the segments will break down on the sides, but it didn't happen as well.
There were cracks in the segments, and there was some leakage of water through the cracks.
Yeah, for us installing fiber segments, it was a new thing. When we will dominate completely this installing, we will have less cracks than in classical rebars. That is sure. And the other aspect of this fiber segments is that what you know since 30 years in UK, yeah, but we made only our revolution now. The fibers have this quality that the cracks close up and there is no water against. That's why we say that they're better fight against corrosion and a better lining.
None of the segments like these tight curves.
That's the question at the moment, because we have a lining that is better, which is better in the aspect of how it will go through the years, and we have to qualify our segments for 100 years. And on the other side, we have still classical rebars, and now it's a leak. It's a leak zone. This classical rebars, but we will see how we will manage it for the rest of our projects.
Well, speaking of the future, next 200 kilometers that needs to be built for Grand Paris, do you think it will be steel fibers? No other contractor is using them as yet.
The Société du Grand Paris asked to study in all the new projects fibers segments, and if the bidders is able to realize these segments, they will be accepted from the Grand Paris, as I understand on the new project that are in bid at the present moment.
Benoit, do you think that this comprehensive study will improve the codes or improve the standards?
I think this mainly confirms the codes, and the main reference code today is the model code and the FIB Bulletin 83. From this massive campaign, one point I think could be interesting to influence the code is the fiber orientation. There is always a lot of discussion about the fiber orientation and how we can take this in account in the design. And this return of experience, all the tests conducted both in Serib and Scale 1 in Roma University confirm that it's a little technical, but the coefficient 1 could be taken in a conservative way, I think. Well, so we get sufficient data saying, yes, we do not need to be too much conservative as we are today. Because if you are too much conservative, at the end, you kill your solution.
Is there something particular that you would want to reinvestigate or restudy for the next project?
Not a lot of things, but we could. There are three aspects that we can develop. The first, for the moment, our tests on scale 1 prove that our results are really the same from one segment to another. If we had studies to lead, I think the aspect of vibration should be very interesting. And then the control. There is a great debate in France about these controls. Our tests prove that we have the good fibers in the good part of the segments. We have the quantity and we have the net. But a client wants to see a little bit more about that. And that's why they wanted us to make some tests that are really complicated and didn't bring anything. I speak about coefficient K determination, an orientation coefficient test. But out of this campaign of determination of coefficient K, let us be confident in this solution. We take out of a segment that is tested a score. And the score, we count the fibers on this score in 3 parts, and every time we have the same results. That's why to develop something where we could radiography or tomography the segments would be really interesting. We make a campaign to photography all these beams that we took out of our segments on the 4 faces, and we counted on the photography the segments in the 3 direction. And we saw as well, it's a test, we can't use it at the control of the production because it takes a certain time. But this test proved as well that the fibers were in the good zones, in the good places. And I must say that that is a big advantage of a Bekaert fiber of 0.75 millimeters with a good elastic level. We have a good net. That is a very important element.
For these segments to be in combination with the TBM, do you think that there is enough work studying between the two of those things?
Yeah, perhaps, but on the other side, the operators install on one side classical rebars, on the other side fibers, and the processes doesn't change. I would say it is more to find a good combination in the mix between the fibers and the concrete mix. You had perhaps the fibers on one side and the mix on the other. And you had specialists of concrete on one side and specialists of fibers on the other side. And line 16 perhaps permit that we associate it together. And that's the great advantage of our partnership with Bekaert on this case.
Is the goal still to reduce further these micro cracks, to reduce the fibers, maybe, Benoit, to reduce the thickness of the segments, because still we are using the same amount of concrete, and concrete is very expensive on the CO2.
I think you touch with the last word the key development in the future. Of course, we need to control the crack. Cracking control during the installation is very important. Cracking control in service is very important. We know that we can achieve, but the next step, I think, and we look, and if we take in account the view of the owner, the owner, if you go on the website of the owner of the Grand Paris, you see one of their key challenges is to have a sustainable solution and to leverage innovation of ecological transition. That's part of the main target, and that's why they put fiber reinforced concrete as one of the key innovation to support this ecological transition. You save 5,000 tons of steel for every 10 kilometers. That's already CO2 saving just on, less steel to save steel. Secondly, there is room also to decrease a little the thickness of the segment. So decrease the thickness of the segments due to the minimum concrete cover for durability that you do not have for fiber reinforced concrete, which is already a durable solution. So it's concrete saving is also CO2 saving. And top of that, this is also the main trend, and we see we have in UK a lot of research on that to use. It was not the case on this project, but it will be for the next lots, certainly, to have geopolymer concrete, geopolymer fiber reinforced concrete. Voilà. And this package will also create a very low carbon lining, and we go in this direction, and we will not go back.
We expected that we had in the future to reduce the capacities of the TBMs in matter of power, etc. But now we see that it's not necessary, and we can continue. So our first goal is to realize what you realized in UK since 30 years. That's in the matter of segments. We have to give back to the Queen what is for the Queen, On the other side, we brought this the fact that we can reduce the numbers of segments in a ring, for example, to keep the power of the machines, and we will continue to develop these aspects.
Where is the next area, Benoit, that needs this kind of work? I mean, which area of the world is still needing to do the convincing?
But I think the other place in Europe, I think I think about Germany, Italy. Well, we see that this solution is very well accepted in UK, in US, in Australia, in Singapore. Owner of Grand Paris validate this solution, and I think the other could do. And also this story about low carbon lining. The beginning, ductility requirement was the key word. Durability was the next key word. And now we have a fantastic state of the art about durability. Fiber reinforced concrete is the best solution for durability. The new keywords everywhere is sustainability.
You found the journey quite exciting.
Yes, because at the first there was the, I will say it in French, la glaise et la paille. And we make homes with that. And then you have development in matter of calculation in design with the computers. Then we came to the concrete with rebars, and then the pre-strength concrete. And now we come back with the fibers and the concrete to the origins. We come back to la paille et la glaise, and that's the beautiful progress we can do. I think as an engineer, it's a huge interest to permit to people to go through a metro, through a tube with fiber segments that comes to the origin.
Thank you both very much for your time. Thank you for the time and the expertise.